Are you facing daunting change, challenges, or complexity in your life? Well, over the past year, I've experienced the same, navigating uncertainty and redefining what resilience means to me. That experience inspired the Contrarian Mindset, a new series launching January 2025 on It's an Inside Job. What does it mean to be contrarian? It means thinking differently from the usual way. It's about questioning common reactions, mindsets, habits, and beliefs, especially those that hold us back. Instead of following automatic fears or patterns, a contrarian looks for practical new ways to build strength, face challenges, and grow. In this series, I'll share the mental and emotional skills that have truly worked for me. Skills that have had a real impact on how I approach life's complexities. These tools will help you break free from unhelpful patterns, confront fears like rejection and uncertainty, and develop the clarity and confidence to lead yourself with purpose. So join me in January to start the new year with a fresh perspective. Well, welcome to It's an Inside Job BiteSize Fridays, your weekly dose of resilience, optimism, and well-being to get you ready for the weekend. Now, each week, I'll bring you insightful tips and uplifting stories to help you navigate life's challenges and embrace a more positive mindset. And so with that said, let's slip into the stream. This week, we are diving back into the archives into Season 5, Episode 21. Now, the 3 benefits of listening today is that you're going to learn how to identify and balance the key factors that shape your personality on a biological level, sociological, and a personal level. The second benefit, you'll gain insights into how you can harness personality flexibility to build resilience and overcome the challenges that we all face day to day. Now, you'll also discover practical tools for personal growth and flourishing, tailored by your own unique personality and values. So in this episode, we are taking an excerpt from Dr. Brian Little's conversation with me. Now, he's an acclaimed personality psychologist and the author of the brilliant book, Me, Myself, and Us, and Who Are We Really? Now, Dr. Little's groundbreaking work challenges the notion that our personalities are fixed and unchangeable, revealing how we have the capacity to actually shape and adapt our traits over time. So if you ever tell yourself that's just who I am, that's how I was born, that's my personality, it's fixed, well, I think this episode will kind of shake that belief system. So without further ado, let's slip into this week's BiteSize Friday.
The conscientiousness, this is a fascinating one, Jason, because it throws up something that I think is unanticipated. Highly conscientious people, as you can imagine, are those who get things done. They get them done on time. They're efficient. They're reliable. They're dependable. They're hardworking. They're high in achievement orientation, and consequently, they do better in school. They do better in organizations. They get better grades. They get promoted. They earn more money. Everything seems really, really great for a highly conscientious person. But the other thing is that they're also healthier. And that early on in personality science, it was seen as interesting. I mean, not terribly surprising, but interesting, because the other domains seem logical, but why are they healthier? Well, I think it gets down to them being more likely to follow up on health regimens. They stick to the doctor's recommendations. They will internalize a plan for aerobics or whatever it is that enables them to keep fit. And they actually live longer than those who are the opposite end of the spectrum. But again, in terms of overdoing it, highly, highly conscientious people can also become obsessive compulsive. And so they have to get, and you've got aspects of perfectionism that can compromise the forward thrust of a person's concerns, because they just can't live with not getting everything perfect. And, it is the enemy of the good in many cases.
And I guess almost what springs from that is almost like imposter syndrome, the sense that, people are going to discover that I am not as conscientious, that I should not be here, that someone's made a mistake. And so they will go, again, that leads into perfectionism. They will work logically. They know they've done a good job, but emotionally they're doing it 3 or 4 times, repeating it, just crossing everything, the I's and the T's and such.
It's a very good point. Yeah, it's a very good point. They can engage in this compensatory and over-the-top behavior. George Kelly has a really interesting definition of hostility, which is the attempt to extort validation for a viewpoint. For a viewpoint is probably wrong. And so this is an attempt to extort validation for people seeing you as right when you know that maybe you're not that good. So it's really interesting how that fits in with the whole notion of hyper conscientiousness. The extroversion, the E of ocean, is something we could spend more time on. I'll just simply say that these are individuals who seek out positive reinforcement and are very sensitive to reward cues. They're characterized by what are called immediacy cues. When they're interacting with people, they stand close for comfortable communication. They engage in a lot of gesticulatory behavior and so on. The more introverted people stand back more. They're much more comfortable in environments that have low levels of stimulation, and they can end up having some considerable periods of awkwardness in their social interactions. There's another combination of this with people who are agreeable, or in this case, the other end of the dimension, disagreeable, tend to be very blunt and straightforward. And I have a favorite anecdote that I have of an extremely extroverted guy who was a colleague of mine. We did consulting work together, and we'll call him Tom because that was his name. And he was as different from me as two people can be. First, he's 6'5", and I have a tendency not to be. He's a classic extrovert. I am an extreme introvert, and that may surprise people because I don't sound like an introvert, I guess. Certainly when I'm lecturing as a professor, I don't. And we had seconded to our project a person who was as different, who basically caused major schisms in the project team. And the person who seconded him found out about this and said to Tom, "So what do you think of Michael?" And Tom responded in classic extrovertese. I'll tell you what he said in a moment. And then they said to me, "Brian, what do you think of Michael?" And I said, "Well, Michael," and this is classic introvert speak, we hedge things. We use weasel words. So I said, "Well, Michael has a tendency at times of behaving in a way that some of us might see as perhaps more assertive than is normally called for." And Tom just rolled his eyes. He said, "Brian, that's what I said. He's an asshole." Now, as an introvert, I might gently allude to certain assholic qualities in this man's behavior, but I'm not going to lunge for the A word. But Tom was a classic extrovert. He's a bit disagreeable as well. And we were very close friends. And as long as you realize that these are our natural propensities, these are our biogenic propensities, then you can say, "Oh, you're a funny little guy." Or, "There you go again." And it's instead of pointing at a person and indicting them on a charge of introversion or extroversion, it's a way of saying, "That's a really interesting kind of feature of personality you have, and I love you.
I guess it's almost like when you're giving feedback, you want to be describing a person's behavior. You want to label the behavior because the behavior is very situational. If you start talking about you are this or you are that, then you're labeling their personality. And who are you to tell me that I am this? Yes, you can observe my behavior, and maybe I was a little overly assertive or not diplomatic enough in that case. Mm-hmm. But to paint everything the way that Jason is, his personality is this. I think that's probably a little slippery slope. Behavior is easy because behaviors can be changed, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, very much so. And this is why I think that when we start moving from traits to projects, if I can get into just a little bit of the science of the statistical aspect of it, that we can look at how much traits influence such things as happiness and positive emotions, negative emotions, and so on. And there's research that shows that there is a link between those, but they're mediated by the experiences you have with your personal projects. If you take projects out of it, then those links are going to diminish. And so the beauty of that, to me, is that while it is possible to change our traits, and we might talk about that perhaps, it's a lot easier to change the mediating projects which help bring about positive life outcomes. You can, if one of the reasons that extroverted people or let's reverse it, introverted people are less likely to make advances in domains of the social is because they don't engage with people, then instead of changing introversion as a fixed trait, you can provide strategies whereby they can learn how to introduce themselves without being embarrassed or do various things to.
And this could be like a personal project, a very mini personal project. How to, for example, speak in front of people or how to engage. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And many personal projects are actually projects to change your personality. One of the most frequent projects is to be less shy, to be less introverted, or to be less anxious. And so each of these is a variation on the theme of one of the big fives wanting to change it. If you ask people if they want to change their personalities, most say yes. And most say yes in the direction of wanting to be, let's go through the ocean, more open, more conscientious, more extroverted, more agreeable, and less neurotic.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I hope less neurotic.
More neurotic. That's the one reversal. There, yeah. Right? And just a couple of words on those last two, because we haven't talked explicitly. The agreeableness is highly agreeable people are great to have in groups because they lubricate things. Yeah, everything, they're averse to conflict. And so if somebody is getting snarky, the highly agreeable person says, well, okay, Bud's doing his usual stick to us stuff. Let's take a look at, and so they'll move it along, and people who are getting a little uncorked because of Bud are happy to have that agreeable person there. On the downside of agreeableness, they can be taken advantage of. There's a certain degree of compliance that comes with agreeableness because they don't like to be involved in conflict situations, and that's a kind of personal downside. On the highly disagreeable side, there's some really interesting evidence that they are more likely to experience health challenges, particularly relating to cardiovascular events. And part of this is that a key feature of low agreeableness is hostility.
If you want more, why not go back and listen to the original full conversation with my guest? You will find the link in the episode in the show notes. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I'll be back next week with my long-form conversational episodes on Monday and the latest bite-sized episode on Friday. And have yourself a relaxing and rejuvenating weekend.